Rome, the greatest empire the ancient world had ever seen. By the turn of the 1st century, the Roman war machine had crushed kings, conquered continents, and absorbed entire civilizations. From the deserts of Africa to the shores of Gaul, to resist Rome was to invite total annihilation. But in the year 9 AD, the invincible Roman Empire collided with a force it could not tame. Deep in the dark, rain-soaked woods of Germania, 3 entire Roman legions, over 15,000 men, vanished. They were slaughtered not by a rival empire, but by a coalition of fractured tribes. The mastermind behind this massacre was a man who knew Rome's greatest strengths, because he had been forged by them. His name was Arminius. To the Romans, he was a trusted ally. To his people, a savior. And to history, he is the barbarian who stopped the Roman Empire in its tracks. To understand the greatest betrayal in Roman history, we have to go back to the beginning. Arminius was born around 18 BC, the son of a chieftain of the Cherusci tribe. At this time, the Roman Empire was pushing its borders east toward the Elbe River, deep into Germanic territory. Rome's strategy wasn't just military conquest, it was cultural assimilation. They demanded tribute, and more importantly, they demanded sons. As a boy, Arminius and his brother were taken from their homeland and sent to Rome as high-ranking hostages. It was a calculated move by the Romans. Take the sons of barbarian kings, raise them in the glory of Rome, and send them back as loyal puppets. And for a long time, it seemed to work perfectly. Arminius didn't just survive in Rome, he thrived. He learned Latin. He studied Roman military tactics, engineering, and politics. He was so successful that he was granted Roman citizenship and elevated to the rank of equestrian, a Roman knight. He fought in Roman campaigns in the Balkans, commanding auxiliary forces with ruthless efficiency. Arminius knew the Roman war machine inside and out. He knew how their supply lines worked, how they formed their impenetrable shield walls, and, most importantly, he knew their arrogance. Rome believed it was untouchable. Arminius realized that this arrogance was their only weakness. Around the year 7 AD, Rome sent Arminius back to Germania. His mission was to help the newly appointed Roman governor, Publius Quinctilius Varus, pacify the region. Varus was a cruel and arrogant administrator. He treated the free Germanic tribes not as allies, but as conquered slaves, imposing heavy taxes and brutal laws. Varus trusted Arminius completely. Why wouldn't he? Arminius spoke perfect Latin, wore Roman armor, and commanded Roman troops. But beneath the Roman armor, the heart of a Cherusci beat. In secret, under the cover of the dense Germanic forests, Arminius began to unite the rival tribes. This was a monumental task. The Germanic tribes hated each other almost as much as they hated Rome. But Arminius used his charisma and the shared hatred of Varus to forge a fragile alliance. By September of 9th AD, the trap was set. As the summer campaign ended, Varus prepared to march his 3 legions, the 17th, 18th, and 19th, back to their winter quarters near the Rhine. Then, Arminius delivered a false report. He told Varus of a minor tribal uprising to the north. Against the advice of other commanders who suspected a trap, Varus took the bait. He altered his route, leading his massive column of men, wagons, and families directly into unfamiliar territory. directly into the Teutoburg forest. Arminius, on screen. A minor uprising to the north. Bandits have harassed a Roman outpost. We should march to secure the region. The environment itself was the first enemy. The Roman column was stretched out for over 10 miles, forced to navigate narrow, muddy trails flanked by dense woods and treacherous bogs. They could not form their legendary battle formations. They were tired, soaking wet, and completely exposed. Suddenly, Arminius, who had ridden ahead under the pretense of gathering scouts, gave the signal. From the tree line, a terrifying roar echoed through the forest. Thousands of Germanic warriors descended upon the Romans. Javelins rained down from the high ground. The Romans tried to fight back, but in the thick mud and tight spaces, their long swords and heavy armor were useless. The battle, or rather the slaughter, lasted for 3 grueling days. Arminius knew exactly how the Romans would react, and he countered their every move. On the 3rd day, the remaining Roman forces were pushed into a bottleneck between a hill and a swamp. Realizing that all hope was lost, Governor Varus fell on his own sword to avoid capture. The 3 legions were entirely wiped out. The legendary Roman eagles, the sacred symbols of the legions, were taken. When the news reached Rome, the Emperor Augustus was said to have wandered his palace halls in a state of madness, banging his head against the walls, screaming, "Quintilius Varus, give me back my legions." Arminius had won a victory that would echo through eternity. The Romans abandoned their plans to conquer lands east of the Rhine. The river became the permanent boundary between the Roman and Germanic worlds. But the victor's crown is heavy, and Rome did not forgive easily. Over the next few years, Rome sent a brilliant new general, Germanicus, to exact brutal revenge. He waged a campaign of terror across Germania, burning villages and massacring civilians. He even captured Arminius's pregnant wife, Thusnelda, taking her back to Rome to be paraded in a triumph. Arminius would never see his wife or his son again. Despite Rome's retaliation, Arminius remained undefeated in major combat. But his ultimate downfall would not come from a Roman sword. With the Roman threat pushed back, the Germanic tribes returned to their old ways, fighting each other. Arminius had become too powerful, and his own people feared he wanted to make himself king. In the year 21 AD, at the age of just 39, the man who had defeated the greatest empire on earth was assassinated by members of his own family. For nearly 1,500 years, the story of Arminius was largely forgotten. But during the Renaissance, lost Roman texts were rediscovered and his legend was reborn. By the 19th century, during a time when modern Germany was struggling to unify, Arminius was rebranded. He was given a new Germanized name, Hermann. He was transformed from a brilliant, calculated tribal warlord into a romanticized national hero. The massive Hermannsdenkmal, the Hermann Monument, was built to overlook the Teutoburg forest, a symbol of German unity and resistance against foreign powers. Tragically, this myth was later weaponized. In the 20th century, the Nazis twisted the legacy of Arminius to fit their dark ideology of racial purity and militarism, casting a long shadow over his historical memory. Today, modern historians and archaeologists look at Arminius not through the lens of nationalist propaganda, but through the facts buried in the mud of Kalkreis, the actual site of the battle. Arminius was not a flawless hero, nor was he merely a savage barbarian. He was a pragmatic, brilliant tactician trapped between 2 worlds. He used the very tools of his oppressors to secure his people's freedom, forever altering the borders of Europe. Rome conquered the known world, but the forest belonged to Arminius.